Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena and I am your holistic guide and GAPS guru. I like to talk about all things GAPS related, food, emotions, and everything in between. I like to create healthy homes and lifestyles and really just support people while they're on their own healing process. And so today I'm going to be talking to you about something that I feel like I've gotten really good at because I've had to do it a lot. And that is traveling when you're on the GAPS diet. And honestly, this really does apply whether you're on the GAPS diet or you're on some other kind of healing protocol where you need to be very specific. Even if you just have an allergy and it's really hard for you to travel because you are nervous about eating out at restaurants and having reactions, this video is going to provide 6 really beneficial tips to you and helping you to have a peaceful vacation and to travel with a lot less stress. So let's jump in. Okay, so when you're on GAPS, the first tip that I have is that you avoid hotels whenever possible. Now, that might sound kind of crazy. You're thinking like going on vacation, usually you want to go to a hotel and you want the relaxing parts of the hotel, like the bed and all that kind of stuff. And maybe I'll do a whole other video of how to navigate hotels because I've done it a lot. And there are very many tips and tricks to doing it, but I would recommend, if you can, to prefer the Airbnb or even staying with a friend or relative if you can over the hotel, because for one, usually it's actually a better experience. I know Airbnbs can be kind of tricky, but so can hotels. And it also just gives you so much more flexibility when it comes to cooking. Usually Airbnbs, they're in houses, so they're gonna have stoves and kitchens and all kitchenware and all that kind of stuff. And that's just not something that you have when you're in a hotel. And so you're gonna have to bring a lot more and think a lot more ahead of like, what do I even need to cook? What kind of utensils do I need? You're gonna need to think about way more. And so if you're going for, the ease of travel, you're gonna want to avoid the hotel and stick with something like Airbnb or Vrbo, where you can kind of see ahead of time, you can read reviews and tell what people who have been there before have experienced and what's really there for you and your needs and all that. So that would be my first tip. Okay, my second tip for you would be that if you do plan on ever going to a restaurant, that it either be a farm-to-table restaurant, a seafood restaurant, or just a really expensive, high-quality restaurant. You're gonna pay a lot more for it. But any of those 3 are really safe and good options. I know the essence of GAPS is not being in restaurants at all because you really don't know and you can't control all the nitty-gritty details. So this is something you're gonna need to weigh with where you're at on the GAPS protocol. If you're maybe more on the intro stages, this is gonna be a lot more challenging, but if you've progressed to full GAPS, this might be really manageable for you. And if you're just looking for, a one time a year vacation and you wanna go out some of the days while you're traveling, these are gonna be the best options. Basically, you're choosing the restaurants that are going to be the safest. Unfortunately, those end up being the more expensive restaurants where you might be paying like $100 each time you go, but you can actually get like grass-fed, 100% grass-fed, organic steaks. You can get the vegetables that are organic if you can find those farm-to-table restaurants. And most of the time, the higher quality restaurants, the more expensive restaurants are going to be willing to work with you and your diet. I have been to so many restaurants, especially before GAPS, but even some on GAPS, where the higher quality ones have really just been so willing to just wait on you hand and foot. And if you tell them the list of things you can't do, they are really willing to accommodate. Now, you might not be going in there giving them the whole laundry list of things you can't do, but things you want to know to avoid are going to be the corn oils and the sugar and the sauces. And so picking meals that are simpler when you're out at restaurants and picking restaurants that are easy to work with is gonna be the best bet. Seafood is always super safe because most of the time it's pan seared, which means that there's usually not a lot of oils involved and they don't usually baste it or soak it in anything beforehand. Seafood is a lot of times raw when you go out to eat, and you can find really good options that don't require you to compromise at all on gaps. Okay, so the next thing, my third tip to think about is going to be what you're gonna bring versus what you're gonna buy when you're there. So the tip here is to just process ahead of time what you're going to bring versus what you're gonna buy. So when you're thinking about this, you're gonna look at, say, you know, what you eat in a day or what you eat in a week or however long, and think, what are the things I'm probably not gonna be able to buy there because maybe they don't have health food stores, or maybe they don't have the kinds of supplements, or you order this thing off Amazon. Bring the things that you need for thriving on a day-to-day basis, but you can't get at conventional health food stores. This might mean you compromise on some of the way you do things at home. So in the sense, like, you're not gonna be making beet kvass, but maybe you really need beet kvass. And so you're gonna bring what you need, but also think ahead and know, okay, are there health food stores in the area? Could I look ahead of time and see what they have so that I can bring as minimal as possible, but also make sure that I bring what I need, because you're gonna need those essentials. And this gets kind of tricky when you're flying, because you're gonna need probably a lot of stuff. In most cases, you're gonna need more than the average person. You're not just packing a bag with clothes and a toothbrush. You have some detox stuff, you have some food essentials, you have some cooking essentials, then you have all your clothes and all your everything else. So you're gonna wanna think about this ahead of time, and it's gonna be different if you're flying versus if you're driving. Now, if you're flying, I really would recommend getting a checked bag. It can be very chaotic when you try to get supplements and random food items through security, although it's possible and I've done it. Again, you can't have the liquid that's over 3 ounces. You're gonna wanna think about that. But especially if you're going to a hotel and you're bringing a burner along with you, they won't let that through security, I'm pretty sure. I've never tried, but I don't recommend trying it. You're gonna wanna check it in a bag, but it is something that's safe to bring in a checked bag. So again, it's an added expense, but if you're traveling for a longer period of time, this is something that I think is worth it, especially if you're flying. But if you're driving, you know, you might plan to stop by at different grocery stores along the way that you know are safe, that have food. You might want to bring a cooler with some ice, and so your main concern may be just keeping the ice replenished on your supplements or whatever needs to be refrigerated and those cooking things. But you might have a lot of margin to be able to bring different pots and pans and spoons and things you might need. Camping is a really easy one because you're always going to need to bring cooking stuff, and so I much prefer camping. People usually think ahead of time about food anyway when they're camping, and they usually bring lots of stuff, things that you'll bring in a cooler. People are usually packing a lot because you might be in the wilderness and you might not have access to grocery stores, so it's a pretty socially normal thing to pack a lot when you go camping. That's why it's one of my favorite things to do on gaps. But again, if you're not, you're just gonna need to think ahead for your specific circumstance. What can I bring versus what will I buy there? For what you're gonna buy there, think Whole Foods, think Fruitful Yields, which is where I live, it's a health food store. Any kind of health food store that's local to there, I've been able to find really awesome Gaps staples, and it's been, honestly, sometimes even easier than where I live. Now, my fourth tip is going to be pick the place ahead of time that is gonna allow you to enhance your detox experience, not detract from your detox experience. So by that I mean, you might not wanna pick, a hotel in the middle of nowhere with a pool and let that be your vacation. Maybe you're actually deciding, I'm actually want to go to the beach on vacation, because not only is that way better than a pool in the middle of nowhere, but it's actually going to enhance my detox experience. So all day long, we're going to be in the sun, relaxing, resting, a lot less stress, and you'll even be able to be in the water and just having basically detox baths all day long, every day. So if you can go to a beach, or even a lake for that matter, is going to be a lot better of a bet than going to maybe even a water park. Those are fun, I get it, But if you're in the process of detoxing, the last thing you need is chlorine all up in your body. So pick wisely. And another thing with that is that you're gonna wanna pick things that are gonna be less stressful. So when I think of picking a less stressful vacation, I think of not over planning and overbooking your days, not pre-planning all the days and packing them all in, but really giving yourself margin and letting it be a vacation, which I think is the way vacations are supposed to be, which is where they're restful and where you're really slowing down the pace. I think there definitely is a time and place for things like Disney, where you're in parks and around all the crappy food all day long, but maybe not when you're on gaps. And I know that can be kind of like a rough thing to say, but I really do think that if you're gonna pick a vacation that's gonna benefit you the most, you're gonna pick things that are gonna be feeling less stressful. So everybody has a different tolerance for stress, but you know yourself and you know your body, and don't overload yourself with needless stress, even needless performing stress around family members. If your whole family's gonna go to do this thing that feels really stressful, that might be an invitation to say no to that thing and choose for yourself and your health a kind of vacation that feels like it would be a restful and relaxing experience. My fifth tip is going to be to think ahead about essentials. So when you're thinking about gaps, you know, we have all these different essentials, but especially when it comes to the bare bones basic essentials, I'm thinking about the thing that's gonna provide me the most nourishment, the most consistency with my regular average diet, the one that I'm, the one right now, so that I'm not changing things dramatically when I go somewhere. But I'm also thinking about the things that when you go to a different place, they're questionable whether or not they're gonna be as non-toxic as they are in your house. So that's thinking about the water. You're thinking about these things ahead of time, but especially when it comes to like water, I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to get water where I'm at? So the vacation that I'm choosing, you wanna think about that ahead of time so that that doesn't throw you off guard and then you're left feeling like you're drinking plastic all day long, And then that's also looking at essentials for your diet. So for me, I pick the things that are most essential, like broth, like kefir, and high quality fats. And those are the things that I focus on while I'm on vacation. I don't go extravagant, I need every single fermented thing in the book. I'm trying to go for the basics. So I might bring sauerkraut, I might bring my meat stock or make meat stock when I'm there. I might focus on kefir, finding a way to get kefir there, and getting that fat. And so those for me are the most essential things when I'm on gaps, and those are the things that I'm gonna wanna think ahead about before I'm there so that I know, like I said, whether I need to bring it or buy it, you have it and you don't have to worry about it. This also applies to detox support. I really do recommend not changing your detox support dramatically when you're on vacation because it can really, really throw your body through a loop. So if anything, I recommend enhancing your detox support because we know that people can get really sick on gaps if they're not doing detox support the way that they should be, because their body starts to go through so much with the food that you're eating and all the nourishing stuff, but then the toxins are just left whirling. For me, I bring enema kits wherever I go so that I can do them to keep up my detox, because that's something I do regularly right now, but also so that if something goes wrong, I am equipped with a way to support my body while it's reacting or while something's going wrong. I'm fully equipped. And last but not least is tip number 6, and I've kind of mentioned this throughout here, but I just want to reiterate that you really want to be saving enough money ahead of the time, ahead of the vacation. That means doing good financial management beforehand and really budgeting extra so that you have margin. And this is going to be really, really important for the things like packing a checked bag or going to the most expensive restaurant and things like that, where these things actually really matter to enhance your experience. They are going to be a little bit more expensive. And so instead of getting there and realizing you don't have enough money to be able to go to the expensive restaurant and going to the Chick-fil-A down the street, because that's all you can afford, you want to think ahead and create the margin that you need, that you know you need, so that you don't have to deal with the financial stress of needing to just survive. and you can really have a relaxing time so that you actually have the finances and the capacity to go to the farmer's market that's local there, or go to the health food store. And depending on the prices, it might be more or less expensive. Usually in really nice vacation spots, they're more expensive. And so you have the capacity to be able to spend the money you need to spend to have a good experience. And we know what happens when you don't have enough money and you end up chinsing out on stuff, and then things in your diet change, and then something goes on with your body and you can't figure it out, and you don't really have enough money to deal with it. This can be a really big problem when you're on vacation, and it can really just mess with the whole tone of the experience, and we don't want that. At the end of the day, the bottom line here is that you're thinking ahead and you're coming prepared. There is literally no reason why GAPS people, especially if they're on full GAPS, shouldn't be able to take a vacation here and there. And I am very passionate about making things work for your lifestyle, and telling people that they can't ever go on vacation on this diet isn't really gonna work. So I think just knowing the tips, knowing what you need to do to be able to remain as healthy and as nourishing to your body as you can, that's gonna be the most sustainable for you in this protocol on the long haul. It does require that you are thinking ahead about these things, thinking ahead about the challenging parts of the things and the fun parts about the things, so that you can create a stress-free experience, which, let me tell you, it's very important. When you're traveling and when you're taking days off of work to come and do something fun, you want it to be peaceful. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything good out of this video, comment below. I would love to hear any tips you have about vacation and traveling, and how you've managed to do it on whatever healing diet you're on, whatever food restrictions you might have. Please like this video and subscribe. I'm letting new videos out very regularly right now, and it's my passion to walk alongside people as they heal and grow. It inspires me and hopefully brings encouragement to you. Thanks for watching.